Hello and welcome back to another episode of EPCC Chef Share Sessions, done in conjunction with the El Paso Community College Culinary Arts Program and EPCC TV. Today we're going to have Ricky Ortiz, one of my favorite students, making a chicken marsala dish that's going to be accompanied by fresh pasta, sauteed asparagus, and a lovely marsala sauce. Hope you enjoy this session, and please let us know if you have any questions. Remember to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. Enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm Ricky Ortiz. I'm a student here at El Paso Community College Culinary Arts Program, and today I'm going to be making you guys some chicken marsala. A little bit about myself. I'm 23 years old. I started the program about 2 years ago. I always found myself a little lost. I love the kitchen. That's the only thing I guess I found about myself. And I just decided 2 years ago, well, let's just try it. You know, I always find myself in the kitchen. I've had kitchen jobs, so let's just see where it takes me. And from there, I feel my career has blossomed. I learned a lot, and I just have a lot of fun doing this, and I found my passion. So let's get started. Let me show you what the chicken marsala is. All right, so what we're gonna need for the chicken marsala is marsala wine, your stock of choice. For me, I'm using mushroom essence, which is basically mushroom stock. You need minced shallots and minced garlic, and your mushrooms of choice, and obviously your chicken breast. For me, I chose an airline chicken breast. The difference between the airline and supreme is airline is a skin on and it has the bone still attached. Okay, so let's begin. Before you start, you want to get the pan hot. Okay, that's heating up. The pan's getting hot. You add a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter. The butter is for the flavor, and then the oil is to make the smoke point a little bit higher. Because butter has a very low smoke point, so you don't want to burn the pan before you put the chicken in. Okay, you get your chicken. Remember, when you're cooking chicken with skin, you always want to cook it skin side down. So we're gonna leave it cooking there about 80 to 90% of the time, which is about 6 to 7 minutes, and then we'll give it the last initial flip. So a quick detail of the sauce: we're gonna cook the chicken down. The chicken's gonna create a fond, which is basically that little bit of grease that sticks onto the pan, the little bit of brown spots, that gives it the sauce flavor. You want that to give it a good chicken flavor, give it that, richness. So we let that cook. Turn down the heat a little bit because it's a little smoky. We're just gonna let that cook a little bit. So another explanation: to make a marsala sauce, it's just basically 3 ingredients, okay, for a marsala sauce. The marsala, which is the heart and soul of the sauce, obviously chicken marsala. You need the stock, mushrooms, and your shallots and garlic. That's gonna be the sauce. That's all you need. And a little bit of butter and cream. As that's cooking, turn it down a little bit. It's getting a little hot on us. Add another little bit of butter. Now we're just letting that cook, letting the skin get really crispy. And the skin protects it from getting dry. I know chicken is very hard to cook. It's a very kind of dry, if you cook it even just 1 degree too much, it's very dry. So the cool thing about cooking with the skin, it kind of prevents that. If you cook it on skin side down for about 80 to 90% of the time, because the skin is a layer of fat, it draws moisture from the skin, making the chicken a little bit more juicy and a better tasting product. When you have a chicken that's not even, I like to lean the pan a little bit to thicker side where it can kind of cook a little bit more evenly. That way you don't have it flat and have one side overcooked and one side like still raw. And remember, with chicken, you want to cook it to 165. This one we are going to pull out at 160 because we're going to finish cooking it in the sauce at the end, as you will see. Let's check on our skin. As you can see, that looks beautiful. Gonna give it a little bit more. Turn it down just a little bit to not burn it. Check on it one more time. Give it the flip. You see we have the color we want. And that crispy. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for it to be crispy and a nice color. Now we let it cook for another 3 to 4 minutes on this side, just to get it cooking about 90% of the way, because like I said, we're gonna finish it in the sauce. And you always wanna have your thermometer ready on hand, especially with chicken. And this, I already did calibrate it, but to calibrate it, basically you just get a cup of ice water, mostly ice, dip it in there, and if it says 34 degrees or around that area, then your thermometer is calibrated. I'm leaving it on that side, like we said. All right, let's check the temp on it. On the thick side. So right now we're still a little bit raw, so we'll leave it down a little bit still. Leave it there for a few minutes still. As that's cooking, we can start heating up the other pan, and we're gonna start sauteing our asparagus and our red bell peppers in a bit. So let's start heating up. And also we have water boiling already, or simmering. And this is gonna be for our pasta in a bit. So we'll just turn it on to get it boiling, because we are gonna drop it in a few minutes. Another little trick or hack, I guess you could say, to make the skin even more crispy. When you're almost done cooking it on that side, flip it back to the skin side for another minute, just so it can get that double fry or double crispy. Ooh, a little bit of flame action there. Let's check the temp on it one more time. You always want to check on it on the thickest side, obviously, because that's where, you know, it could be undercooked. Right now we're looking at about 120, so it's still a little bit raw. So we'll leave it there another minute, and then we'll flip for another minute and we'll pull it out. All right, so now we check the temperature. So we're sitting at about 150 right now. So we put it back on the skin side again, just to give it that final crispization, you know? You want that skin crispy. And as you can see, it also has color on this side. Oh, that's a hot pan. It also has color on this side, and that's what you want. The color is flavor. Obviously, you don't want to burn it either, but you do want to give it that golden brown color. Okay. Back down. Let's check the temp one more time. Ooh, that's a hot pan. So it's still not fully there, so let's give it another minute or so. Let that cook in there. Ooh. Get the sides too. And obviously this top half, because that's where you have that's where it's going to be most of the raw part. We check one more time. Here we go. A little bit more. You have some parts that are cooked and aren't. So you want to make sure you have at least a 90% cooked chicken. Like we say, we're gonna finish in the sauce, but we still don't want to serve raw chicken. We'll do 1 minute on each side, and then we'll let it rest, and we'll start the sauce. And back on the skin side to finish it off and make it crispy. So leave it there. Lean the pan a little bit. Alrighty, there we go. So now it's at 162, a little bit below, but that's what we want. Let it rest. And you see this delicious brown butter and fond that we have on our pan? That's gonna be the starter to our sauce. So we get our mushrooms and we're gonna cook those off in that same fat. You also want to deglaze the pan a bit, you know? Put a little bit too much, so let's take some of these mushrooms out. A little too much too. You don't want to overcrowd your pan. And just enough to make the sauce. They'll cook down too, so. Add another knob of butter, and we let those cook down a little bit. You want to give these a little bit of salt and pepper to season them, you know? A little bit of salt to taste. A little pepper, won't hurt no one. And there we go. Oh, whoopsie. As these are cooking, you want to cook these about halfway before you put in your minced shallots and garlic. And mushrooms do reduce a bit as they cook. As you can see, they're not as crowded no more. It looks a little bit less full. So don't worry about that. So it's starting to get fragrant. They're starting to get about almost halfway done, or about halfway. We add our minced shallots and garlic. It's a lot, so we're not gonna add about half of that. Let that cook in there a little bit. Since they're minced, they should cook fairly fast. So you just want to make them fragrant, you know. Make the shallots transparent. Once you can smell the shallots and garlic, that's when you want to add your Marsala wine. So now that this is mostly cooked, let's start our asparagus. Add a knob of butter, a good 2 knobs actually, and a little bit of oil to not burn that butter. As you can see, our pan was hot. That's when you want to add your butter and oil. You don't want to start with a cold pan. That's how you get it to stick, especially if the pan isn't non-stick. You want to start to get the pan hot enough and then add your oil, for that way it can essentially become a non-stick pan. So now you have this butter and oil basically melted. Let's add our asparagus and our red bell peppers. All right, we're cooking these, right? A little thing to give them a little bit of citrusy flavor, you want to add some lemon zest to your vegetables. It's a little, I guess, hack, I guess you could say. If you like citrus flavor, add zest. And salt and pepper. And we let these cook. So as you can see, these are basically cooked down. Let's add our sherry wine to it. You're gonna want to cook this down until, I would say 75 to 80% of the down, until it gets to a good thick sauciness. And you also want to cook off the alcohol that's in the sherry, in the Marsala, my bad, Marsala wine. Oh no, we lost one. So you want to toss this around, deglaze anything that was in there as that's cooking down. And since we started the sauce, let's start the noodles. Since the noodles are fast, we made fresh noodles today. So since they are fresh, it should only take about, it's a flash boil. So about a minute, maybe a minute and 30, and they should be ready. So this is our fresh linguine. We'll wait on that actually, since it is about a minute. Once the sauce is finishing up and you put the chicken back in it, that's when you can drop your fresh linguine. If you have packaged linguine, then this would be a good time to put it now. Alrighty, so if you guys are wondering why I have 2 kinds of spatulas with me. So the first one it's a wooden one. Since the wooden one's a little harder and you can actually scrape on it, you use this at the beginning when you want to deglaze the pan. How I was saying, you have that fun and you want to scrape off all that good stuff. As you can see now, it almost looks clean. And since this is liquid, and now the rubber spatula is to get all the ones that are stuck, all the little onion pieces, all that. You see how it moves it? It gets every little thing. That's what the rubber one's for. The rubber one's more for sauces, and the wooden one is for when you want to scrape it off, like get a good oomph into it. So these are almost done. Oh, I dropped one. These are almost done. As you can see, this got very thick and saucy, like how I talked about. And our Marsala is almost fully rendered. So now we add our stock to it. And for our stock of choice was mushroom essence. And now you just let that reduce for a little bit. You want to mix that up a little bit. Once your stock reduces to a good consistency that you like, that's when you want to add your cream and butter at the end. Turn this down a little bit. We don't want to burn our sauce now. So let's try one of our asparagus, see if it's cooked all the way. You always want to test your product, you know, try it, especially if you're gonna give it out. All right, now it's good, so we're gonna cut the heat and let it finish cooking on just the heat itself. As this is going, getting thicker, you want to add your heavy cream. And like I said, with the sauce, you want to use the rubber spatula to get all those liquids from all the sides all intertwined. As you can see, it has that nice creamy color that you want. Now it's just a little watery, so we just let it reduce for a little bit. And you want to mix these up for this is a carbon steel pan. Carbon steel is really good at retaining heat, so we just want to keep moving them around. Even though we cut it off the heat, the pan is still going to be a little hot, so move them around here and there, especially if you have a carbon steel or a stainless steel pan. Those retain heat really good. So if you have a non-stick pan, you don't really have to worry about heat retention that much, but if you have a carbon steel or a stainless steel or copper, you just keep that in mind. So now that this sauce is almost to our consistency, you want to add the chicken back to fully cook. Remember how we said we pulled it out at 162? So we put it back in the sauce for one, to make it more juicy, absorb some of that sauce into the chicken, and to fully cook the chicken. So as that's cooking, now we want to add our pasta into the water. Add a good amount, you know, good healthy amount. Nice, good serving, a little bit more, why not? Now we just let that boil for about a minute, because like we said, it's fresh pasta, and fresh pasta cooks a lot faster than packaged pasta. And when you put it back in the sauce, you want to put it back skin side on top, for that way you keep that crispiness, and that bottom end gets that juice, gets that sauce. Let's turn this up so we can get that nice and thick. Let's test one of our linguine out. It's looking ready. Actually, no, it still needs another minute or so, so give it another minute. It also depends on how thin and thick you roll it, how long it takes to boil. The thicker, obviously, the more it takes. You can get a little bit thicker still. So we'll let it cook a little minute or so. And you can still see it needs a little bit more. But let's cut the boil heat already. So you could cut the heat. Check out our consistency for our sauce. Still looking a little thin, but it's working. Check on our noodles. So you want to taste them to make sure they're ready. And they are. So from there, you want to pull them straight out the water, let them drain a little bit, and you want to plate it up like that, ready, because this Marsala sauce is going to be the sauce for the pasta. And it's okay if you got that pasta water in there, especially if you salted the water. It just gives the sauce a little bit more salt. So we have our pasta serving right here. And our sauce is looking nice and thick. We have this ready right here. Could pull our chicken out to cut it. Check on the sauce consistency. Cut the heat. It's looking nice and saucy now. As you can see, when you can move it like that and it doesn't stick on the pan, that's when you know it's a good sauce. Another rule of thumb also, well, this one also, it's a little thin still, but when you grab it in your spatula and it passes the spoon tests, basically you grab it, you run your finger through the spoon, and if that streak stays there, that's how you know the sauce is thick enough. For me, it's still a little bit thin, so we're just gonna flash boil it if it could thicken up. Basically, just heat it up to the highest you can have it, and that thickens up your sauce super fast. You don't wanna do that for a long period of time, because that's gonna burn your sauce. You just wanna do it for minimum about 20 to 30 seconds. While that's boiling, wanna get some gloves, because that's ready to eat. Ready to eat foods mean obviously you're ready to eat, and you don't wanna touch it, you know, you don't want someone grabbing up on your food when you're eating, right? So when you're cutting chicken or cutting something that's ready to eat, you always wanna use gloves. So now we turn that down. Bring our cutting board over here. All right, guys, so it's plate up time. So, like I said, ready to eat, you wanna have your gloves. So I know you wanna start, I always like to check right here, the thickest part, to see how it's cooked. As you can see, fully cooked and juicy. That's exactly how you want it. You just slice it like that. This is just for presentation, so we don't really need that. Pop this right here. We're gonna add our veggies. Look how beautiful that is, those color that you want, those sauteed veggies right here. And we top it with our Marsala sauce. So especially when you have something cooked so beautifully like this, you don't want to sauce the whole chicken, you only want to sauce 1/3 of it, so that way you can kind of show off that crust you left. So you sauce the whole thing right here and sauce 1/3 of the chicken to leave some of that crust still you can see. And there we go, we have our chicken Marsala. I hope you guys enjoy it and hope you guys have fun making this at home.
Thank you so much, Ricky, for making that wonderful chicken Marsala for us. And again, we hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned a little bit. Hope you have some questions for us. Please don't forget to like, share, and request any episodes that you would like to see concerning any topic. Once again, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining the EPCC Chef Share Sessions.